Hello, hello, and welcome to the Color Whisperer Show, where we talk about all things home and healing. And we have a new thing. Look in the corner, it says text the show. Talk to us. This is so exciting. So, this is the first time we've done this. I don't know what's going to happen, but if you're listening and you've got some comments, send us a text. Let's see how this thing works. And Mark, I need you to make sure, I don't know where the texts go, but if they go in the chat, remember I can't see this chat because it's like point 0.2 font. And I, my eyes were never that good. So anyway, I can't read the chat, but I do want to, we that's where Mark can come in and read it to me. So let's try this out. So we have a few things to talk about today. First of all, check out the lighting again. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So this is a really great way the universe has a way of working out for us, right? So you all may have heard the phrase, oh, always say the universe is working out for you. The universe is working out for you no matter what happens. COVID happens, the universe is working out for me. Somebody dies, the universe is working out for me. I get fired from my job, the universe is working out for me. All these bad things, and you're like, how do I think that the universe is working out for me? Okay, well, this is a very uh, it's small in comparison to some of those things, but if you've been following the show for a long time, I have been struggling with lighting for so long. I mean, it's like since the inception of the show. We've had a few good days here and there. I've played with different lights. I've had ring lights. I've had these little lights. I've had I have a big square light that I put in front of me. I have lights on above me. I have lights on behind me. Which way does it work? I mean, poor Mark and he's such a trooper. We'd spend we've spent countless hours going, okay, how do we make the lighting right? How do we make the lighting right? And it's just crazy. So I have no idea what happened, but I lost my camera. I have no idea where it is. Someday it will show up. Maybe the fairies took it, the imps took it. I don't know, but I've searched everywhere. I don't know where it is. Someday I'll be cleaning and maybe it's behind the computer center or something. Who the hell knows? So I had to go out and buy another camera. And I set it up. And ever since I did, the lighting has been so much better. Like you're actually seeing the real colors of what's behind me. It's incredible because for a long time, the colors behind me just looked so dreary and ugly. And I was like, do I need to paint my room? What's wrong? Driving me nuts. And this is where we're going to get into the show topic today. So we're talking about self-esteem in your home. So here I have been for the last couple of years sitting there and I look in the camera and the camera's not seeing what I'm seeing. And the only thing I can attribute all this to is we got a new camera because that's the only thing that's changed. I haven't changed the window treatments. I haven't changed different lighting. I haven't changed nothing, nothing, nothing. But here I was too. I didn't know I needed a new camera. I had a camera. From what I could tell, it worked. I had no idea that a different camera would see colors differently. Who would have thought that? I'm not a photographer. You want to talk about design? All day. I can tell you all the impact that design has. And I'm sitting there, okay, I got to fix the lighting. I got to fix the lighting. And I had days I'd get off of here and I'd be so mad at myself. I'm like, I'm a designer. I freaking know this stuff. How can I make this work? And I played and I played. And I'm like, I got different paint colors to put on the back there. And I tried them. And this has been, a subtle thorn in my side for a long time. And it made me mad. It really did. I'm like, I'm a designer. I should know. Why don't I understand the lighting? Why don't I understand how this works? I did everything the book said. And I'm like, I didn't put a bunch of holes and do cans all over the ceiling. That's the only thing I didn't do. But I was like, okay, I've got light in front of me. I can't get this so that it's directly in front of a window. It doesn't work in this room. My computer center is like taller than me, which means it's taller than a window, so I wouldn't get fresh daylight. But anyway, I played with it. Like, okay, let's try. Let's see if we move it here, we move it there. We tried different rooms. No matter what we did, it was dark. And this was this was attacking my self-esteem because it was like, I know how to do this. What is wrong? I'm like, it's my fault. No, guess what? It was the camera's fault. Yay! Problem solved. How exciting is that? But this is how, hey, Mark.
Speaking of cameras solved and everything, we also are on Instagram, so I'm still waiting for other people to join. But Vibes with Ursula has joined the conversation, so I'm going to give a shout out to Vibes with Ursula, and we'll see if they've got anything that they want to say about this topic and all along those lines. And who knows if other people will join us as well. But I just came in to let you know that we have Vibes with Ursula that has joined the conversation because it tells
Hi,
me who's
Ursula.
joined.
I hope you're doing well today. We're going to have fun today. So, we're just talking about how our homes can affect our self-esteem, and it's just there's lighting. We've been talking about lighting and how this has been affecting me and the show. And there's been times that, before the show, I'm like, and I don't know. I don't go back and watch the shows. I'll be really honest. I don't. And but I know how I feel during the shows, and I know at the end of the show, oh, that was a good show, and oh, that one was kind of tough. And I know that on the shows where I was worried about the lighting, like, why can't I get this to work? I wasn't I wasn't my best. And I was letting that niggle at my self-esteem. So our homes truly are a reflection of who we are. And that can be seen in so many ways. One easy way it shows up is clutter. Because when you get depressed, when you get overwhelmed, when you get exhausted, that's the first thing that you stop doing. Some of the chores. I'm preparing for a show right now. I'm going to be doing over the weekend. I've got all kinds of things to put together. I've been creating all kinds of marketing material. And you know what? My brain is on marketing. And there's cups. I've got a drink of water here. I had a smoothie here. And and it's not that I'm intentionally trying to be messy. I've just got 50 things going on in my head at a time. And okay, well, I left a cup here. And so then I'll see it and it'll get moved another time I go from room to room. But that's my big thing. I leave cups everywhere. My mother used to call them, she call them empty boats or drunken sailors or something. I forget. Oh, it was too funny. Anyway, but that's that's one way that stress or busyness affects me. And it's fine for a couple days, but then it starts like, oh, you're neglecting yourself, because that's part of self-care, is making sure that the things around you and things that you need are available to you, and clean. Go to the cupboard and there's no cups there. Why? They're all over the house. It's not quite that bad, but you get the idea. And so this is how things affect. Now, when things go long term, when I had my miscarriage, I didn't care about cleaning. I didn't care about doing stuff. My self esteem was about this big. My heart was broken in so many pieces. It wasn't funny. I didn't care. And I didn't feel cared for at that time. And so, because I didn't feel cared for, I didn't care about myself. And cared for is a really, there's a lot of ways we can be cared for. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's a bad spouse or a bad parent. You can have somebody who's trying to care for you, but maybe is they don't know how to care for you. I heard this story. Husband and wife mad with each other. His in her mind, his job is to take out the trash. She hates taking out the trash. She never really told him this. He just sees it as another chore on the multitude of chores that need to be done all day, and he helps out where he feels he can. And so she starts yelling at him, "You didn't take out the trash. You didn't take out the trash." And he's just like, "So what? You took out the trash. Trash got out. Done. What's the problem? I did these other things." So finally they sit down and really be honest with each other. And she tells him, "I really hate taking out the trash. When you take out the trash, I feel like you're taking care of me, and you're my hero. You're my knight in shining armor for taking out the trash." Well, he had no idea that he was her knight in shining armor for taking out the trash. It was just something he did. He's like, "Oh, crikey." He said, "Well, is there any other chores you feel this way about?" You know? And she's like, "No, it's just the trash. That I really hate taking out the trash." And of course, he wants to be her knight in shining armor. So after that, he always took out the trash. So here's the thing: is that sometimes, that feeling of not feeling cared for isn't necessarily about the other person. We have to get vulnerable with what that's really about. But I was mad at everybody. I was mad at God. Why'd you let me get pregnant if you're just going to take it away? And that's where I didn't feel not cared for. Nobody could fix that. There's no person in my life that could fix that. I had to come to terms with what did that really mean? And ultimately, was it working out for me? Yeah, just like the camera. And who I've become because of that, night and day. Night and day. And I couldn't have become this person otherwise. So we do the same thing when our homes, when we go through big changes, when we build that confidence, we build our self-esteem. What are the things we do? We go get a new haircut. Oh, I need something different. I'm going to chop it all off. I'm going to grow it long. Oh, I want something different, right? We go get a new outfit. Oh, look at this. Look at this necklace. It makes me feel so beautiful. It makes me feel so lovely and important, and I feel special because I love how this necklace looks on me. Or look at my outfit. Oh, I feel like $1 million in this outfit. And that's that feeling that is self-care. It's not about taking a bubble bath or, oh, the salesperson's, "Oh, you deserve it. You're worth it." Okay, that's a sales technique. It's bullshit. You get to decide what you're worth, and you get to decide whether or not it's worth you too. This necklace, let's see if we can get a little better view of it. I love this necklace. When I found it, I was like, oh my gosh. It just like spoke to me. It called out to me like, "Jeanette, I'm yours. Jeanette, I'm yours." And I tell you, this necklace, I can wear with almost anything in my closet if I want to. What was the movie, the traveling pants? Yeah, it fit all these girls totally different sizes. Well, this I can put on here. This is just a simple long sleeve shirt, nothing fancy about it. But look what happens to it when I put this necklace on it. Now it becomes dressy. It adds a little more flair, a little more artistic. And this necklace means a lot to me. I've got several necklaces that do for different reasons. But this necklace does make me feel like $1 million because of how well it fits who I am. And so when we go out looking for that, who am I the next part of my life? Who do I want to be? I need something different. I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling icky. I'm feeling, something's got to give. Something's got to be different. And only I can make that change. Whether it's, changing a haircut. I know somebody, it's funny, they got a divorce. And during the process of the divorce, she was redhead and she went blonde. And she didn't, she needed to be somebody different as she was rediscovering herself. And she found new love again and she went back to her red hair because that's really who she was. But for a little while there, she didn't know who she was. She had to figure out who she was again. And that's not uncommon when we go through big things like that. So, your home is a great way to help you make go through those changes in life. And it can be something as simple as moving accessories around, moving furniture around, changing the paint color. Hey, Mark.
I'm back again. This time we have Joy Breidenbacher that is joining the conversation as well. So if Joy is
Hi,
there
Joy.
listening and all along those lines, we definitely love to hear from Joy and any thoughts that they've got about what they're hearing and all along those lines and everything. I did have a question for you because you know I love and it is springtime. I love birds and everything, and I happen to notice behind you is a pillow with I'm assuming those are owls, but I'm not sure and everything like that. So I
Oh,
just want to know
no, they're
more
not
about.
owls. Let me get out of the way. I'll show you. I fell in love with this fabric. Okay. So they're not owls. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they are. Um, so when I started designing this room, it was designed with my ex in mind as for us. And the he loved birds. He loved birds, and his favorite color, where our palettes worked together, he liked burgundy. Well, this is kind of a mix between his red and my red. It doesn't have quite as much purple as his red, but he's a summer, so his palette is more gray, and he needs things to be a little bit more static, and I need things to be more in motion. And so this was an interesting way to combine those. So you see these birds are all very active.
Mhm.
We've got one, he's down here talking to this other one, and there's a lot of activity going on here. But because it's monochromatic, it's still very it doesn't have as much action as the picture above it.
Gotcha. Right.
Okay. And it doesn't have as much action as maybe like some zigzags. And it's got the nail heads for me. And the idea was that this was going to be kind of an English library, English office. And so this pattern is very English.
Mm.
And unfortunately, one of the drapes had has a stain. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep it all, but um, when I found the fabric, I was like, this is very much an us fabric. And it works beautifully.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that you said that was interesting in that regards and everything along those lines is I'm oftentimes fascinated by folks in the creative realm, and I definitely consider you in the creative realm,
Oh yeah.
how much y'all are um, have attention to detail and everything. Because I was actually thinking about one of my coworkers. She's actually at the Hayti right now, and everything is a artist, Sharon Worth, I believe is the full name, Sharon Barksdale Worth or something like that in that space. But she is a muralist and everything. And we have a mural at the time. We actually got a main mural that's up on the second floor. And I know that she will sometimes find like little blemishes and things. So she would do touch up work and everything like that. And one of her fellow muralists actually came through recently and was doing some measurement because I think we're going to add some augmented reality to that mural, which talks about part of history, a part of Durham history and everything. But I'm just oftentimes fascinated because I will go by there oftentimes and I do not see the kind of blemishes that you as the creatives find and everything like that. So I just wonder your thoughts around that because sometimes I'm going like, you know, because sometimes I'm not as detail oriented oriented as some of the artists are, including my dad. I'm going like, wow, y'all saw that blemish? I did not see that blemish at all. But it might be something minute that other people pay attention to. But just
Yeah,
your take on
I,
it.
I always, I go to a client's home, and if the drapes aren't right, I'll fix them. Or there's some accessories that I put together. I'm like, oh, I'll move some accessories around. When we were in counseling, my ex and I were in counseling for a little while, and the counselor had this bookcase, and he just threw stuff on the bookcase, and it drove me nuts. And it got to the point I had to sit facing away from it because I was like, I can't take my eyes off this bookcase. It's driving me nuts. And this went on for a couple of months. And afterwards, I said, after one of our sessions one day, would you mind if I fix something on your bookcase? And I said, he's like, is it really bugging you? I said, it really is. I said, you can change it if you want afterwards. If you don't like it, that's fine. But can I fix it? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so it took me 5 minutes, and I fixed it. And at least for the rest of the time we saw him, he didn't change it, and probably didn't after that either, just because that's, but um, it's, yeah, I mean, I, I'm not usually like that where I have to touch other people's stuff who haven't hired me, but that was really irking me. And I had we used to go to these parties every year um, for my husband's work. And the lady who owned the house, she heard me talking about design to another person. And she came up to me and she says, Jeanette, I never feel like you judge my house or me or anything. And I'm like, well, I don't. I'm not being paid to look at your house, right? I mean, you have to turn it off. It's like a psychic can't have the voices going constantly. You have to be able to turn it off. Although in her case, I didn't tell her this, but we used to do a weekly event at her house, and her house really bugged me. Like, I was pretty young at the time, and I literally would take my hand, we'd park. Before we got out of the car, I'd literally put my hand in front of me, and I would turn my design off. I'd have to turn a knob and say, okay, there will be no design here. So one day, this event, they were yapping. I didn't care what they were yapping about. And I started counting the tiles on the floor. And then I started playing with some stuff, on writing some stuff on paper. And he nudged me. He's like, you just figured it out, didn't you? And I'm like, yep. And I created this absolutely amazing room that these people will never know about because they didn't ask me. They've redone their house. They didn't ask me. They didn't ask my opinion. That's their loss. I have created an absolutely stunning room for them that they would have gone nuts over. They would have loved it. It was so comfortable. It was so beautiful. It involved everything they felt was important, and it was creative. And I designed the whole room in that, probably 20, 30 minutes. I mean, I didn't get like exact stuff, but I saw the vision in my head. And because I knew I was never going to actually do it, I could pick stuff. Okay, I want this, I want that. And I could pull stuff together that I didn't have to worry about budgets or nothing, because I knew that this was only going to happen in my head. And so after that, I didn't walk into her house anymore. I walked into the house that I had created for her. So there was no need for me to judge her. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't have judged her to begin with, but after that moment, I never had to turn my design sense off, because I was never in the house that she decorated. I was in the house that I decorated for her. So I was very much relaxed and at peace in that place, because it was an incredible environment. And there was no need to judge her for it. She did eventually redo her bathroom, and she was so proud. She's like, oh, we redid the bathroom, and we let the kids do all the designing. And I'm like, oh God, what happened to it? And then she said, well, why don't you go take a look? And well, what do you think, Jeanette? I'm like, well, I think it's a little late for that. I think it's a little late for me to answer that question. I said, are you happy with it? Yeah. I said, it's a huge improvement. That's all. You're happy with it. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter what I think. If you cared what I thought, you would have asked me before you did it. You don't care what I thought because you didn't ask me. And they had plenty of money to hire me. It wasn't an issue of money. It was, you know, I know what they spent on the bathroom. It wasn't an issue of money for them to do what they did and not get, a couple hours with me to say, hey, what do you think? Can we get your input? So they clearly didn't care, which is fine. But when I was in their home, I was in a whole different home. So there was no judgment because I was already in an incredible environment.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, that's just amazing. Well, we're trying to get some other people to comment as well because I've now got some different also going on Facebook as well. So we're trying to see with our Facebook crowd will answer as well and all along those lines. We're trying to
Yeah, if
engage.
you guys have any design questions, I'm totally open to those. Mark, can they text pictures?
They can text pictures, they can text questions, they can text whatever they want to and everything. So we're trying to see if we can't get some.
That's exciting. So send me your pictures, send me your questions. I'd love to do some let's do some, in the coaching world they call it laser coaching. So let's do some laser designing, you know? And let's tell me what your biggest problem is and let's see what we can do to work it out. This will be fun.
It'll be real fun. So hopefully we're going to get some people that'll be sharing their different things that they've got going on, and they'll hopefully engage us in these conversations and everything because this is going to become more interactive. Like I said, this is our first time
And I
trying to
love
interactive.
and don't be embarrassed to see. Okay, that's one of the things I get a lot is people who, oh, I'm afraid to have you come to my house to see my mess. Hello, do you go to the doctor and say I'm afraid to be come see you because I'm sick? No, you go to the doctor because you're sick. So I'm your house doctor. Your house is screaming at you. Your house is sick. Your house needs to see the doctor. And I'm good. If you've been watching for a while, I've got some healing techniques, and I do have. I don't like saying I have psychic abilities. I am very in tune with people's homes. I'm very good at reading people's homes, and I do have some sixth sense. I haven't explored totally being psychic yet. That's another class I haven't taken. Um, but I do have a very high intuition, and and the thing is, like, if you're unhappy, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling if you're feeling like something needs to change and you just got to break out of the skin, let's break open that chrysalis and find your wings. And your house is a great way to start that process. I'm here to
Yeah,
help.
I know that. And earlier when we were starting the show and everything, how concerned should people be? I guess we would go down that lane because that's been on my mind and everything. And you were giving some great advice and everything. But sometimes people are too concerned about wanting to be a discomfort to people if they are out and about. We're talking about my brother's MS journey and everything like that. And I was mentioning that I know some people that don't like the dogs and don't like to show that they are weak because we all have our own weaknesses and everything. So sometimes we are maybe overly conscious of whatever our disabilities are. And I think we all have disabilities of one sort or another. I don't think that there are that many perfect people out there. So I think we all have various disabilities, whether it's mental or physical or health related and everything along those lines. But sometimes we like to shade those or hide those even in the family environment and everything. So I just wanted your take on how we can be comfortable and not feel like we're burdening folks.
Okay, so this goes very, very deep. So
Okay.
I grew up with a mother with polio, and her left part of her body was affected, and her right was not. So she walked funny. She had a limp. One leg was shorter than the other. Her left hand was kind of curled up like this, and her left eye was permanently dilated in the spot that whenever all this happened, her hand would lock up on her, and she'd have to go through every muscle in her hand and unlock it. And I watched her abilities decline over the years of her life. And she was always moving house around to deal with those changes and to deal with the changes in us. Like if we were putting our book bag in a place that she was tripping on it, she put a table there so we wouldn't put our book bag there. I mean, that's pretty basic, but that's an easy example. So here's the thing. I know that my mother did feel like she was a burden to us at times. And I'm here to tell you that at no point in my life or any of my siblings' lives or my dad did we ever feel that she was a burden. At no point did any of us ever complain that mom couldn't walk as fast as we could. This was mom. We respected what she could do and what she couldn't do. And now my mother was very fortunate to have that. When she had the illness, her immediate family, her brothers and sisters, she had some brothers that were ashamed of her, and they had dates that would come over, and you can't come out of the room. You can't come out of the room. I don't want my date to see. Stop. I don't know why. Sorry.
Sometimes things have a mind of their own and everything like that. By the way, while you were getting that situated,
Oh, it's the fax machine. That's why. I didn't know the fax machine was on. I'm so sorry. Okay, back to where we were.
Yeah, the fax machine.
At no point. Now, she did have brothers who, she had to relearn how to walk. There she is, 8 years old, and she's crawling on the floor. 9 years old, 10 years old, she's crawling on the floor so that she could learn how to walk again. And she did have brothers that were ashamed of her. Don't you come out while my date's here. You stay in your room, blah, blah, blah. So not everybody has that family that says, yes, we're here to support you. I know that I can speak for myself, my siblings, and my dad. At no point were we ever ashamed of my mother. We were never felt that she was a burden. I have no doubt that thought crossed her mind. And so that's where you have to have a really vulnerable conversation with people and say, I want you to tell me, how can we work it out? And the thing is, like, yeah, there's things that happen, and MS is a difficult one. And with any handicap, I think they use different words now. I don't know anymore, but it's what I grew up with. It's what I know.
Yeah, it's like differently
disability. We have to make the idea. We all face challenges in life. Some of them are physical, some of them are mental, some of them are emotional. We all face challenges, and you have to rise above it. So my mother, when I was little, she held on. She didn't need anything, and then we would go out with my dad. She might hold on to his arm. When I got to be 12, I had longer hair then, but she would grab onto my neck and not like, not like choking me, but she would hold on to the back of my neck. That was a good height when I was really little, like 8, 9 years old. That was little. And so that was a good height for her to have the balance that she needed. Eventually she got to the place where she needed to have a cane. She didn't go hardly anywhere by herself. There was always somebody with her. And I guess when we were in school, she did go some places by herself, but a lot of times there was somebody with her. And if she had little kids with her, they could knock her over. So she had to be aware. And she went from cane to walker. But I think that what happens I grew up with this courage, surrounded by this courage. And then I had a mother-in-law who got diabetes, and everything was, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. The world's out to get me. I'm nothing now, blah, 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 blah. So a large part of any of these disabilities is, how do you respond to it? Am I a victim of it? Or is this a challenge I need to overcome? My mother never, ever said the words, I can't. We'd go to Disneyland. There'd be a ride that she used to ride all the time. No, I don't want to ride on it. She never said, I can't get in it. She said, no, I don't want to ride on it. And
I'm laughing because Coco, who you saw we were in her room earlier, mentioning that she has a show as well on Thursdays, and she had a couple of guests that were dealing with various traumas, and she does a gospel show and everything like that. But one of the guests invited her, because they live in Dallas, to go on, I think it's one of the Six Flags rides and everything, and she was like, I'm not getting on those. She has a deathly fear of heights, I believe, and everything like that. And her friend was like, no, on there, and I'll hold your hands, and we'll have faith that it'll all work out and everything. But she was like, no, I'm not getting on one of those things. You cannot talk me into it. So that's why the chuckle was coming out, because I'm going like, yeah, I just had this. Well, I was part of that conversation on the peripheral version, because I was producing her show, much like I'm producing yours and everything. But I was just laughing at when you were talking about the rides.
the thing is, when we get these disabilities as we age, and we do, right? And so my mother, hers happened when she was 8 years old. What's she supposed to do? Turn away and die at 8? No. She was a stubborn little kid. She always was a stubborn little kid, and she was a stubborn little kid when she died, you know. But she was a stubborn little kid, and she said, "This ain't gonna take me down." But when my mother-in-law, who'd been relatively healthy and active all of her life now, and had not had to deal with anything major until she got diabetes, well, now her experience of this was so totally different, because she had life where she didn't have to worry about anything, and now all of a sudden she's got to worry about all this stuff, and it was overwhelming to her and exhausting to her. And whenever we get something like this, there is an element of defeat. Am I strong enough to fight this? Am I strong enough to battle this? And part, this gets into the healing work I do, is that, do you go to one doctor and say, oh, this, da, 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 or do you keep looking for answers? So I had asthma in my early 20s, and I went to a lung specialist, and the lung specialist said, there's nothing wrong with you. You just don't know how to breathe. And he walked out of the room. Excuse me? Okay. What? And he just like, here, pay my bill. What? And I was like, okay, I'm not living like this for the rest of my life. They had me on inhalers. They had me on pills that made me want to go run a marathon. I've never run a marathon. I have no desire to run a marathon, ever. And I could barely make it to the bathroom. And I've got this feeling that I got to go run 100 miles. I'm like, no. And I kept looking for answers. And I found an answer that was totally out of any realm of anything that I knew, with a holistic healer. And you know what? He fixed my asthma in one session. I had interstitial cystitis when I was in my 30s. And what that is canker sores on the inside of your bladder. So it acts like a UTI. The problem is, what do you do for UTI? You take cranberry juice. Guess what's the worst enemy for interstitial cystitis? Cranberry juice. So I thought I was doing something that would make me better, and it made me worse. Now, there was a lot of diet stuff that I had to do to get over it. But I went to the doctor and like, oh, you're going to be like this forever. I'm like, bullshit. You don't know who you're talking to. This is not going to be my life. Right? Now, there are people who sit there and like, oh, almighty doctor, yes, you're right. Please give me another pill. Yes. Now, I found out later the pills, this is 30 years ago, not quite 30 years ago, 20 years ago, those pills they put me on, guess what they do? They came out 20 years later and they said, by the way, these pills can harm your eyesight.
Well,
Oh my God, if I'd been on those pills for 20 years, I could be blind now. And then I would have nothing. I cannot do my work blind. I would have to, I couldn't do
no,
interior,
you can do
I
that.
couldn't do the healing stuff, but I could
Just
not.
really quickly, we've got people that have joined us and everything. So, Respect My Nerds has joined, and Michael Day. I have no idea who Michael Day is, but he said happy, and he put a happy face on, and all along those lines. So I did ask him if he had any questions or anything along those lines, but definitely Michael Day, DAE, and Respect My Nerds have joined the conversation. So we'll see if they've got comments or things that they want to ask about their own houses or their own interior and all along those lines. So we do have folks that are joining and engaging in the conversation.
So nice to have you. So welcome. So back to what happens when we get these diseases is we have to decide, are we warriors or are we not? Some people, and here's as an energy healer, one of the hardest things for me to deal with is that some people want to be sick. Some people like going to the doctor every week. They like taking the pills. But you know what's sad to me? So a lot of times, a lot of people who are elderly, they're going to the doctor once a week, twice a week, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? Some of these people, that's their social life.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not willing to give it up. And so, I watched, I mean, my mother's the strongest person I've ever met. And I watched her, no matter what happened to her, find a way of possibility. And this is where our mindset is. When they sat there and said, you're going to take this $400 pill for the rest of your life, I said, oh, no, I'm not. And I'm so grateful because now I could be blind if I'd taken that pill for all this time. My risk of going blind, it would have been much higher. And so there are ways of figuring out, you're talking about your brother not having balance. And my dad, when he started losing his eyesight, he had macular degeneration. He went down to the blind place and said, teach me. I want to be able to do the best of what I can do. And he learned a lot because he wanted to be as independent as possible. And we have this image of, like, if I'm dependent on a crutch or if I'm dependent on a cane, I've lost my independence. But if you are afraid to go out because you don't have the balance that you need because you're refusing to use a cane or a crutch, then you're putting yourself in a self-imposed jail. And yes, you're going to get you might get stares with a cane or the crutch. And, MS particularly is one that, whenever there's something different, people stare. That's just human nature. And it sucks. But it's, do I have the courage to be stared at? My mother got talked about all the time. She heard kids, mommy, what's wrong with her? And depending on the situation, my mother might stop and talk to them and say, I'm okay, but I had this illness when I was sick, and this is what happened to me. And she would explain. And she couldn't do that every time. And if my mother ever felt, I know that she did feel less than. And as a kid, I know from stuff I've cleared from myself that I picked up on her feeling, some shame. But we never gave that to her. And, having her brothers make her feel ashamed, I'm sure had a huge impact on her. But never, ever were her kids embarrassed by her. Never.
Yeah. And that's one thing we talk about in our family is we definitely have strength in family, and we definitely are there to support each other. So, like I was telling you, Malik sent out a very powerful video, and it's actually out there on the social media sites, and folks can watch it. Where he was definitely giving some encouraging words to folks, and a lot of what you're saying is what he was saying as well. Even though definitely there are some of the other things that he's still working through as well, and that's some of the things that you're talking about as well. But it was definitely an encouraging message of positivity and hope, and not going to let just the disease defeat him and all along those lines. So it's definitely a very
You know,
powerful
part
message
of
in
it
the
too
movie.
is what we see. So like when you and I were kids, there was the facts of life.
Hmm.
And there was a cousin, I can't remember her name right now, I can see her, but Blair's cousin had MS, and
Right.
she came in, and she couldn't do stuff, and this was a lady who was a comedian, and she was doing really well as a comedian, and she kind of made fun of her disease, and that was a way to, like, for her to incorporate it in and create some jokes around it. And for many people in our generation, that was the only person they saw that was disabled. That might have
Hmm.
been the only person that they knew that was disabled. And maybe they saw, some other TV show that had some, what was the one with the Down syndrome kid? Um, but that may have been their own only exposure to these abnormalities. Maybe we're used to seeing it in older people, so people don't necessarily go, okay. But to see somebody young and have these, for me, it was my whole world. This was my world. Like, I knew a ton of handicapped people,
Because
but
what was the doctor who was handicapped, and then because he became a doctor at a young age, but I think he would have been considered on the spectrum as well. Doogie Howser, I believe it was, or something like that.
oh, they never really talked about that, did he? Did they? I don't
No.
know. I don't know. There is a show right now about a doctor who's got autism. I think I don't know what it's called. Is it called The Doctor?
Well, I
There's a
know.
show on right now about a doctor who's got autism.
And there was that other doctor that was that Doogie Howser was the other one, but then there was the one that walked with a cane. He was like very much a um
Oh, Doctor House.
Doctor
House.
House, right?
Yeah, House. I love that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. House was genius.
Yeah, and House was
Um,
a genius and definitely had some run-ins with management. I was actually watching a similar show to House that stars a African American actor and everything, but it was really good. And I guess it's loosely based on Sherlock Holmes and Watson, but it's called Watson and everything. But
oh, I
it's
wanted to see that, and I haven't.
you should definitely watch it because they had a great episode with dealing with sickle cell, and they've had some other things that they deal with because they definitely touched some real serious medical issues, but also the kind of the as House did the running between hospital management and the actual doctors because sometimes the doctors are wanting to do things that might go against hospital management.
Right now, Doctor House is a great example of somebody who didn't really take his injury well.
No.
He ended up doing, and he got stuck on pain pills, and there were times in the show where he really, the pain won,
Right.
and so there's a lot of different elements that go with it, but the psychology of, I'm not going to take this. I when I got these two lifelong diseases, I'd had a history of my mother saying, no, this isn't going to be my life. You don't get to choose that for me. And because I had that, I didn't let the doctors choose that life for me. And I'm like, I get to choose this. And there's ways, that's why I'm so much into the natural health, because there's so many things. I was so fortunate when I had interstitial cystitis. I was waiting to go into there's a procedure they have to do to see if you have it, and the electricity went out, and I'm like, we're driving to the hospital. I'm like, we get to the hospital and the electricity's out, and I'm like, is this a good thing? But it turned out it was the best thing. And I swear this was an angel. I swear this was an angel. I've had a couple times when I swear angels have come to me, and there's no question in my mind it was an angel, and this was one. But this nurse came in while we're waiting, and she said she'd had it, and she sat down. She's, I just got off shift, and I know that they're going to be calling me back because other people aren't
Mhm.
going to be coming in, and I just live across the street. So I'm going to come in and talk to you. She spent an hour with me telling me all about her experience, how she fixed it with diet and only diet, and she didn't take the pills. And she talked to me about the emotional part behind it as well as the physical part behind it. And she was so kind and caring. And after my surgery, the doctor came in and started telling me the same stuff. And, I was like, yeah, yeah, go away. he
Like,
wasn't
all
telling,
right.
and nearly the words that she did. And I was like, I got this, man. I don't need you, because she was so good. And it was, whether she was, an angel with wings embodied, or just, God, but God used her to be an angel for me that day. And because I I had that experience, I would have questioned the doctor anyway, just because I'm like, I'm not taking this pill forever. I'm not. Um, I
But
I
that
raised
brings
the
up
questions, and I was able to get through it, and I can eat whatever I want now.
a couple of interesting things. One is Malik in that video that I was somewhat sharing with you and everything was talking about the connection with more than just the regular family. And I think I even did a piece with Brian Showman, who is a LinkedIn influencer, and it got me to be part of an award-winning book and everything that we talked about this notion of not just your physical family, but your soul family as well. And I would say Malik has got a soul family with his Slingshot Club, because that's actually who helped him record the video and everything like that, his co-president. So I'm just wondering, as a spiritual being and everything, and one that's spiritually inclined, your thoughts on this whole notion of the soul family, because it's ironically that I think that he ran into one of his people when he first went to the clinic, because he talks about that in the video as well, because he thought he was there for migraines, because they also deal with migraines as well, and it turns out that they were there for the same reason and everything, which means that they were part of that MS fight, and they shared with each other uh, the knowledge with each other, so they were able to encourage each other in their own, still encourage each other. So I just wanted to thoughts around uh,
No, there's
connections.
definitely soul family. I mean, there are people who have abusive parents or siblings. I mean, not all of us, well, there's no such thing as the iconic ideal family, I mean,
Right.
like you see on TV. There's no such thing. But there is, you get that best friend that stays with you your whole life. I mean, I know people that have best friends that they knew from they were like grade school. Like,
Right.
I don't know where, I mean, I went to 4 different schools. I don't know where anybody I went to grade school is. Um, I do have some friends from high school still, but how many people stick around that long? Not too many. And so when you have these people, and sometimes it might even be, I've had some people be very close to me and it didn't last that long, but you know when you have somebody in your life that you can talk about anything with, that you can call up at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I ran out of gas, on the way to Vegas, can you come help me? Or the car broke down, and hey, my mom died, and
Well, speaking of which, we've got another influencer that is definitely done a lot of work in this field, not so much with MS, but I actually had the pleasure of working with this gentleman when he was running for Man of the Year. I believe that was in Rhode Island, if I remember correctly, but he can correct me. It might have been New Jersey or something along those lines. But he was dealing with leukemia, so he was doing this with the LLS Society. So Tim Sohn is actually watching the show
hey,
right
Tim.
now, and all along those lines. So he said, "Send in some Friday love to you, point
Oh,
of view, and everything along those lines." So I'm also hearing from Brian Showman as well. So both Brian Showman and Tim are here and making some comments. But Tim did uh, deal with LLS, and we actually did a social media fundraiser for his LLS campaign and all along those lines. I think we did that about 2 or 3 years ago and everything. So I see both of them are active in the page and saying
well,
hello to us.
please reach out to me. It's thecolorwhisperer.com. If you guys do any auctions, I'll be more than happy to donate some virtual time for your auctions. So if you guys are doing more fundraisers, I am very happy to support the cause. It's, these things are near and dear to me, and um, I'm happy to help you raise some money. Back to the soul family. So yes, I mean, our parents die. I mean, like most of us are going to outlive our parents, right? So we can't just be our family. And some people don't have brothers and sisters, and some people have crappy brothers and sisters. So our soul family is the people that you can count on. You know, like I had to borrow money in a pinch when my mom died, and I called up a friend and I said, "Can I?" And like, yes, like it was just this resounding yes. There was no, and so that's our soul family, and it's nice if your birth family is that, but not everybody gets that. And our soul family is the ones who are really there for our sisters from another mother, our brothers from another mother, the people who stick by you, because we all need that support. We all need family. My parents are both gone. My sisters are nowhere near. And so holidays, I'm like, okay, well, my family is now my friends. There isn't any family, blood family to be around. So it's the people that are there for me. It's my friends are now my family.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to have these people that we feel important to. This goes back to our self-esteem at the beginning. If you don't have anybody that you feel important to, and vice versa, that really lowers the self-esteem. You've got to know that you've got, some people need a ton of friends that they talk to a little bit. Some people need two or three friends that they talk to a lot. It just depends on what your definition of friend and what you need, but we all need somebody in our corner. What's the line from Dirty Dancing? Nobody puts baby in a corner. We all need
Yeah.
somebody coming at us and saying, come out here, come dance with me, let me help you shine. We all need one person that's gonna hold us up and help us to shine.
No, we definitely need that one person and everything. As you were saying that, I was actually thinking because Coco had him on her show yesterday. There was a gospel singer. I think he's just now getting to terms with being able to sing. And I know that this can be a touchy topic for you because of your own experiences. But I don't know how anybody, and fortunately I've not had to deal with it, could deal with the loss of a child, because he was talking on his show about having been away from singing for a while. He had lost his teenage daughter. I didn't find out whether it was self-inflicted or whether it was illness or how it happened. But no matter how it happened, it's just, I don't, like you said, most of us are going to be fortunate enough to see our parents pass before they see us pass and everything. But it's just got to
But
be devastating,
nobody
particularly.
wants to talk about a child's death. That's what's hard.
Right,
And this country does not know how to deal with death in general.
right,
And the thing is, you don't get over a death. You get through it.
right,
And you do it one day at a time. And every holiday that first year, you're creating new traditions. You're creating new, and eventually you get used to the new world.
right.
And that's what it is. It's not that you're never going to miss that person again. That's a lie. You will. Is your world, my world after my parents are gone, it's so different. I can't have that other world back.
Mhm.
I can't recreate that. But it's a different world for me. Do I have fun? Do I have wonderful people in my life? Absolutely. Are there times when I really need to talk to my mom? Absolutely. Sometimes I need to borrow her strength. I'm like, Mama, show me what I do. How do I connect to your strength and get through this?
Right.
And in those quiet moments, you can feel her and you can hear her. I was, after my miscarriage, I was driving one day, and all of a sudden I could feel her, and she says, "Have your baby."
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, all is at peace. It was so beautiful, you know? So if a lot of people don't know how to hear, I'm sorry,
Right.
but if you, in those quiet moments, you can tune into them and you can feel them and you can hear them. If you have dreams about them, that's their way of coming into you and talking to you, because they're going to come in whatever way you'll accept. You know, I was out walking the other day, and there was like three squirrels sitting there playing in front of me. I just
Mhm.
stopped, and my mother loves squirrels, and I'm like, "Hi, Mama. Hi,
Yeah.
Mama."
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Man,
know?
definitely got to stay in touch with those ancestors. You love dream interpretation. I'm still trying to figure out this out from 2 nights ago because I think I was on a bus and somehow the bus was going way off course, but I was still staying on the bus and everything. So, like I said, I want to say the bus was traveling maybe um, a good 1,000 miles away from whatever the destination was that I was supposed to be going to. So, I have no idea what that dream means because that
So
was
what are you doing that's going in the wrong direction?
say
What are
what?
you what are you doing that's going in the wrong direction? What are you afraid to leave to get you going in the right direction?
Hmm. Hadn't thought about that. Maybe that's what that dream was trying to get me to analyze was the directions and what I was like maybe needing to go in the right direction or leave behind some things that are not beneficial and everything. And I do think I have an idea, but that could be even in the relationship space and everything. So yeah, that could be what it was. But it was just weird because I'm sitting there. There was another dream before it, but I unfortunately don't remember that dream. But it was another weird dream. But that one I do remember because I think that was from 2 nights ago. Don't remember what I dreamt last night, but I just remember going like, "Wow, this bus is going on a long trip." But I think even the bus driver was like, "Are you getting off here?" And I'm like, "No, just keep on going."
Sounds like there's some you need to get off the bus.
Yeah.
So you know what getting off the bus means. You need to get off the bus.
Got to get off that bus, whatever that bus is, and it might be a relationship ride that is going too crazy. So I might have to get off of that particular bus, or maybe it's a work bus as well.
If the bus driver can see it, that means strangers can see it, and you can't. You're not willing to get off. So get off the bus.
Get off the bus. Get off that bus.
Nobody else can see it but you.
Yep. And I did get that impression because I think everybody got off the bus but me, including the bus driver. And when we got to the destination, I want to say the destination was like somewhere way off in like some I won't say an abandoned area, but like a kind of like a quieter area and everything. So maybe it's tell me that I need to slow down and somewhat as well. That might have been part
Time
of it.
to get off the bus, Mark.
Okay.
The message is very clear. It's time to get off the bus.
Whatever that bus
what
is.
That means, I'm not going to do that publicly, but it's time to get off the bus.
Yeah. Get off that.
And speaking of buses and getting off the bus, it's time to get off those bad diets, eating that bad, crappy food, and putting something good in your bellies with Kendu Spice.
It is definitely time to do that. So we're going to get out here with Kendu Spices. I do, because I know you, but we did have no comments this time, but hopefully we'll start getting comments. But I want to thank those that joined us. I also sent some.
Thank you so much.
We do know we have folks that are watching now, whether they're watching for the whole hour or a minute or two, that we'll figure out later on. But we do know that we got folks that are watching this show and are engaging and at least listen and everything. Matter of fact, I'm seeing 3 eyeballs right now. So even as we're going off, there are at least 3 eyeballs that will be watching Kendu Spices and all along those lines. And those look like they might even be coming from our Twitter feed. So we've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I'll be putting this on TikTok after the fact and everything later on. So we've got folks that are engaging in the crowd. So as definitely Jeanette said, and I'm going to say this before playing Kendu Spices, just to remind the audience, would you give them that email so they can know that they can reach out to you with questions doing between now and our show next week? They can also reach out to me if they want to.
Send me your questions, send me your pictures, and we'll be happy to answer them next week. You can reach me at design@thecolorwhisperer.com.
And if you want to see her producer, you can send that to bluesradio@gmail.com. Bluesradio@gmail.com if you want to CC the producer, but do send it to the primary host, which is Jeanette, because she'll be the one that can.
And we'll get all your questions answered. This is going to be a nice big change in the structure of the show, and we can get some questions answered. This will be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. And they can also text during the show. We didn't have anybody do it on our first run of this test at this time, but we're going to keep this test running for several weeks in going. So sometimes people got to get used to the new normal and everything like that. But this has been fun. And I was glad to pop in and share with you that there were folks watching, because sometimes you're going like, is anybody watching? Well, now we know there are people watching and everything like that. So on that note, we'll get out here with some Kendu Spices, and you'll get ready to do your other work, and me as well. So good to see you as always, and we'll let you have some Good old weather over there in the West Coast. We're expecting a little bit of rain, but it is like the 70s here in North Carolina. So the weather isn't that bad here, right, on this particular day. So we're going to get on out of here with Can Do Spice.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.